All right, now I'm very excited about my next guest. You guys know Libby Emmons. She's a frequent guest on the Grace Curley Show. She writes for the Post Millennial, and I'm going to ask her a lot of stories because the Post Millennial is the first place I go when something breaks. They always have the hottest takes, and even though all these stories aren't necessarily Libby's, she has a good feel for everything that's going on right now in the U.S. Libby, thank you so much for joining the Grace Curley Show.
Oh, thanks so much.
All right, Libby, so I know that you probably saw the Jon Stewart segment that was heard around the world where he basically repeated what people like you have been saying for months and months and months, that it's possible the Wuhan virus actually started in the Wuhan lab. What I want to talk about now is this doctor who came out, Dr. Hotez of the Center for Vaccine Development, and said that this theory promoted by Jon Stewart hurts scientists. Do you buy that?
No, I don't, because scientists should be up for open inquiry. They should be following the scientific method, as it's called, and really be doing some investigation. The fact that scientists were so willing to go along this year with the idea that the lab leak hypothesis could not possibly be real simply because they hated Trump is what actually hurts scientists and their credibility, I think, with the American public.
And yeah,
certainly it's not Jon Stewart.
Sorry, Libby, I didn't mean to cut you off there. I agree with you. I agree with you about that, and I also want to point to what this doctor is saying is very similar to what Dr. Fauci said. You know, any sort of attack on, or not even an attack, any sort of questioning, any sort of logical skepticism is an attack on these people. It's a personal thing. They're way too invested in this. And I mean, like from an emotional standpoint, there's no objectivity. And I want to play for you Dr. Fauci and what he said about this and see if you agree with him. Cut 18, please.
People forget that, but if you go back then, even though you lean towards feeling that this is more likely a natural occurrence, we always felt that you've got to keep an open mind. All of us. We didn't get up and start announcing it, but we've always said keep an open mind and continue to look. So I think it's a bit of a distortion to say that we deliberately suppress that.
Do you think they deliberately suppressed this theory, Libby?
I do think they deliberately suppressed the theory, and I think they did so for a number of reasons, but most of those reasons come down to they're not wanting to appear like they're not going along with the narrative. You know, I think a lot of that what we've seen in this past year and what we've seen with the lab leak is that they are so insistent that there can only be one way to talk about these things. And when they say there's only one way to talk about these things, that we can't talk about the lab leak, for example, that we can't say that the virus came from China because for some reason that's racist. When these kind of things come up, what they're really telling us is that the American people are too stupid to make their own judgments and differentiations and to form their own opinions. They're telling us that Americans need to only hear one message because otherwise we're likely to believe the wrong thing. When in actuality, Americans are really smart and we know how to differentiate from fact and fiction, and we know how to assess a set of data or information points and come up with an opinion on our own. We don't need these elite doctors and scientists telling us that there's only one thing that we're allowed to think and telling us that if anybody says anything outside of that purview, that's the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is that they think that we can't think for ourselves. I'm tired of that, frankly.
Yeah, and what it makes me think of, Libby, because it goes beyond the coronavirus. We're seeing it right now play out in the press where we're seeing one thing and they're telling us to see something completely different. And a perfect example is Joe Biden and this Putin-Biden summit. They're trying to convince us, whether it's Jim Sciutto or John Brennan, that Joe Biden is this political mastermind. And what we're seeing day in and day out, and I know the Post Millennial reports on these videos a lot, is the very, very fast decline of a senile man. And so, like you said, it's two different versions of this, and the mainstream media is forcing one down our throats every single day.
I think that that's right. I really want the president to succeed. I really want the president to do well. When the president does well, the United States does well, and I believe in this country. But it's really scary, actually, to see President Biden look confused, to see him look lost. My grandmother is suffering from something that looks awfully similar to what Joe Biden is suffering from, and I hate to see her look lost and confused, but she has people around her who would never put her in these kind of positions, people who love her. And to have our nation represented on the national stage by someone who just looks like he's in such stark decline, I don't think it's fair to the nation. I don't think it's fair to Americans, and I don't think it's fair to Joe Biden that he was put in this position where, despite what appears to be, I don't know, I'm not his doctor certainly, but what appears to be a mental decline is it's terrifying and it's sad. I think. I'm sorry for the wind. Also, I'm standing outside.
Oh, no problem, Libby. But I like that you brought that up, and I'm sorry to hear about your grandmother. But it does show, and I try to steer clear of using anything that's too mean towards Joe Biden, because, like you said, it is sad. And my uncle said to me at one point, you got to be careful with talk of dementia, because everybody knows someone who suffers from it, and it's a very serious thing. And like you, I don't want to ever come off like I'm enjoying this. It's actually very frightening, and it does make you think, I can't believe his wife and his family are letting him do this day in and day out. Now, Libby, I want to switch here for one sec, because the Post Millennial, it's something I've noticed about your publication, and I love it, is that you guys do not hold back when it comes to Brian Stelter. It seems like every single day I'm reading a hilarious headline. Today's headline is Spud Dud, Brian Stelter mashed by competition, suffers worst ratings of 2021. And I just wanted to ask you, Libby, did you hear who was at Brian Stelter's book party yesterday?
Oh, no, I did not. I did not. You have to tell me.
One Jeffrey Toobin reemerged on the scene.
Oh my goodness. I wonder if he's going to get a book deal out of the Zoom masturbation fiasco.
He probably will, but Libby, you
should at least get a pamphlet distributed by HR.
Yeah, but you guys point out in the Post Millennial, Brian Stelter didn't even report on that. That happened on CNN. He's supposedly, you guys say it's billed as a media program, and he doesn't mention one of the biggest stories of last week, and then he wonders why he can't break 1 million viewers.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be specifically concerned with what's actually newsworthy. He's most concerned, like so many of these guys, they're most concerned with upholding their fictitious narrative in order to retain some kind of, power or moral superiority over the rest of us. And I think, frankly, we're just sick of it. We don't need this anymore. We just, it's not doing anything good for the country or our national character. And I think it's actually fascinating, too. I don't know if you watched Putin gave his press conference after the meeting that Biden and Putin just recently had. And one thing that's happened in the U.S. is our level of self-hatred, our refusal to tout our good points, our inability to recognize our own progress leaves us weak on the national stage. And it leaves, guys like Vladimir Putin able to brush aside the human rights abuses in Russia by saying, well, you shot an unarmed woman at the Capitol. You've detained over 400 political opponents without really releasing information about their charges. You've allowed lawlessness to reign in your streets. How can we have a position of, international, any kind of international righteousness when we're so full of self-hatred that it's just so easy to show us, to say that we're the bad guys, because we believe that too. Why do we believe that about ourselves?
Libby Emmons from the Post Millennial, she's absolutely fabulous. Her stuff is awesome. Everyone should read it. And I love that point because it's very, very true. We saw it when Antony Blinken had a meeting with the Chinese leaders where they just basically said, hey, you guys talk all the time about how racist and terrible your country is. Don't start telling us what to do. Libby, thank you for joining the show. We hope to see you again soon. Guys, I've had my fair share of free lunches during my time at the Howie Carr Radio Network, so I can say this with confidence. Nothing beats a Viva Trattoria. Now, Jared, I went to a Viva Trattoria last night. the new one in Malden. It's gorgeous. First of all, you know what I got.
Chicken parm?
No?
Arancini?
No.
Pizza.
I got the eggplant Milanese.
Ah, yes.
And when I tell you, I've become an eggplant fanatic because of Aviva Trattoria. It's so thin, it's so yummy and breaded and crispy. And then what I got on the side might surprise you, Brussels sprouts. And they had a little bit of bacon or some sort of meat in it.
Bacon and Brussels sprouts, very underrated.
Delicious. I know we brought back Howie some, I think, chicken marsala. Just the food there is awesome. The energy there is great. They have a warm and welcoming staff that is excited to be out and about and working. And you guys should definitely check it out. Also, if you want to enter to win the Aviva VIP lunch on Thursdays, we do Trattoria Trivia. And we always select a winner. We actually have our winner for this week, but wait till next week for our new trivia question. And when they come in, they bring such a spread. I'm talking like pizza, arancini, salads, everything, cannoli sometimes. Just totally delicious. Their new location is officially open in Malden, so go check them out. Tell them I sent you there. And takeout is available too. To enter to win the Aviva VIP lunch, tune in to the Grace Curley Show every Thursday at 1 for Trattoria Trivia. Get thee to the Aviva Trattoria in Malden. All right, we'll be right back, guys. This is the Grace Curley Show.
Listening to The Grace Curley Show.